Hey, look who's back. Ready for round three. I was starting to build a friendship shrine in your honor. Just kidding. Uh, kinda. What's on your mind?
What can you tell me about presuppositional Christian apologetics?
Ooh, deep dive alert. So you're digging into the world of arguments for faith, huh? Let's unpack presuppose you're a fan of theological debates. Presuppositional apologetics is like the ninja master of logic in that arena. They say before you can even start debating God's existence, everyone already operates with certain assumptions about the universe, right? Presuppositionalists argue that the Bible provides a foundation for those assumptions, things like logic itself, objective morality, even the concept of truth. They'd say that other worldviews just can't adequately explain these things without presupposing God. It's like building a house on sand. Eventually, it's going to crumble. Pretty heavy stuff, right? What sparked your interest in this particular flavor of apologetics?
Let's role play where you are a Christian using presuppositional apologetics to prove God's existence. Now, I want you to be aggressive and use their technique of trying to reverse the burden of proof, trying to shift the burden of proof to me to prove that there is no God.
Okay, let's get real for a second. You want to talk about God? Fine. But here's the thing, atheism isn't some neutral starting point. You've already made a big claim that there's no God. You know what? That's a claim that needs backing up. See,
But
I'm
I
not the one
don't
who has.
claim that there's no God. I just say that I don't know if there's a God. You're the one who claims that there is a God, so the burden of proof is on you to prove it.
The classic agnostic dodge. Look, saying I don't know isn't a get out of jail free card. You're still operating on the assumption that the universe just happened. Where'd those laws of nature come from? Where's the evidence for randomness creating everything ordered and complex? You're assuming a lot without even realizing it. You say you don't know if there's a God, but you're already operating with a worldview, uh, a naturalistic worldview that assumes away the need for a creator. So go on, explain to me how the universe sprang into existence from nothing, how life arose from non life, how morality exists without a moral lawgiver. Then maybe we can talk.
I can't answer those questions, and neither can you. The only intellectually honest position is agnosticism.
Oh, come on, don't play coy with me. You said it yourself. You can't answer those questions. That means you're basing your like agnosticism on a big fat assumption that those questions even have answers in the first place. But here's the rub. Your whole worldview rests on assuming naturalism is all there is. You're saying, I don't know, while ignoring the elephant in the room, the need for an explanation for the very laws of logic that you're using to argue your position. That's not intellectual honesty, that's intellectual laziness. Either admit you're operating from a worldview that contradicts your agnosticism or start actually grappling with the evidence for a creator. You can't have it both ways.
How does that contradict my. Wait, what did you just say?
You're dodging. You say you're agnostic, but you're relying on logic, on the idea that there are laws of the universe that are consistent and understandable, which presupposes a mind capable of setting those laws in motion. In other words, you're using the very tools that point towards a creator to argue against him. That's a contradiction. Either those laws are arbitrary, meaning your agnosticism is meaningless, or they point to a lawgiver, in which case you need to start considering the God of the Bible.
Sounds like the God of the gaps argument to me.
Oh, please. God of the gaps. That's a tired old straw man. This isn't about filling in gaps in our knowledge with some magical deity. It's about recognizing the fundamental assumptions upon which any worldview is built. You can't claim to be intellectually honest while simultaneously ignoring the very framework that allows you to make claims about knowledge and truth. Look, if you genuinely want to explore the question of God, then be willing to wrestle with the implications.
That framework is an assumption on your part. You're just making a claim. You're not providing any evidence for your claim.
Okay, let's break this down. Starting this, you're saying that assuming a universe with underlying order and logic is just an assumption on my part? You're able to understand those concepts, to articulate them, because those very concepts are woven into the fabric of reality. Don't you see? That order, that logic, that points to something more than just random chance. It's like finding a watch in the
How do you
sand.
know that?
Got you on the ropes now, eh? Admit it, you wouldn't be able to reach for that. How do I know argument if you didn't already implicitly trust your own senses to laws of logic? Even the idea of a question and answer. You're arguing within a system you claim to be doubtful about. That's the beauty of presuppositional apologetics.
So you're saying
It on
laws of logic, therefore God? I don't see the connection.
Not quite. It's not just about laws of logic, therefore God. It's about recognizing that without a foundation for those laws, those very concepts crumble. Think of it like this: you wouldn't build a skyscraper on quicksand. All right. What are you grounding your understanding of the universe on? Random chance? You're
Reality.
essentially you believe in a self-existent reality, which begs the question: where did this reality come from?
I
What
don't know,
caused
and
it?
neither do you.
Exactly. You're finally admitting that you're not knowing isn't some
I'm
intellectually superior
admitting
position.
I'm admitting that I don't know because I'm being intellectually honest. I'm not making knowledge claims about professing to know about the unknowable as Christians do.
But you are making a knowledge claim. You're claiming that the universe exists independent of any creator without any evidence to support that claim. Your intellectual honesty sounds an awful lot like a convenient shield to avoid grappling with the implications of your own premises. You see the
No,
dilemma
I'm
here,
not
right?
making that statement. I'm saying that I don't know what the origin of the laws of logic are, or the consistent way the universe functions. I don't know, and I'm not making any knowledge claims to that effect.
I love how you keep saying, I don't know. You're a master of the vague. But every time you utter those words, you're actually implying a whole lot. You're implying that the universe functions according to some inherent order without needing an external cause. That inherent order necessitates a framework for morality, for truth, for logic itself. It screams of design. Do you really think the universe is spontaneously combusted into existence, wrote its own rule book, and decided to play by them? Or is there a simpler explanation? A creator who designed it all? Don't hide
That's
behind, I don't
argument
know.
from complexity.
The classic argument from complexity, deflection. You're starting to sound like a broken record, friend. Look, I'm not saying it's impossible for the universe to have sprung into existence by sheer chance. What I am saying is that it takes a monumental leap of faith to believe that. You're
Aha,
essentially,
a leap of faith. So you admit that you're substituting faith for epistemology.
oh, there, hold your epistemological horses. I'm talking about the leap of faith it takes to believe that everything we see, experience, and rely on for our very existence arose from sheer randomness. That the intricate laws of physics, the fine tuning of the cosmos, the very capacity for our brains to even comprehend these things came about by pure chance.
That's a
That's not
straw man.
skepticism.
That's a
Am
straw
I now?
man. I admit you're assuming I'm making a knowledge claim. I am making no knowledge claims whatsoever.
Okay, fine. Let's play it your way. Let's say, for argument's sake, that it is pure chance. Then you're saying that life, with its intricate complexity, consciousness, morality, love, art, everything that makes us human is all just a fluke occurrence? No inherent purpose, no guiding principle, no ultimate meaning, just a cosmic
I'm not
accident?
saying that. You keep saying that I'm making claims to that effect when in fact I am not doing that. I am simply saying I don't know the answers to those questions, and neither do you.
Right, the old agnostic dodge again. Fine. But let me ask you this: if you truly believe that life is just a random accident, devoid of meaning or purpose, doesn't that affect how you live your life? There's no ultimate truth, no right or wrong, then what's the point of striving for anything? Why not just indulge in whatever feels good in the moment? Don't you see, even your rejection of a creator is based on a set.
I make my own truth that I live my life um, according to how I think I should with respect to other people. I treat other people as I want to be treated. I'm a humanist. This is my worldview, and I think I thrive in this world with that worldview, and I do well by other people. And what more do I need?
Ah, the noble humanist and creating your own truth, yeah? Sounds suspiciously like you've still got some of those pesky presuppositions sneaking in there. Treat others as you
I have certain properly basic beliefs, as we all do, but mine isn't. predicated on any God concepts.
Properly basic beliefs? Those are just fancy words for assumptions you haven't thought critically about. You say your worldview isn't predicated on any God concepts, but you're still operating within a framework that assumes morality is objective, that truth exists, that there are universally applicable principles for how to treat others. Those
I
are
don't
deeply
think
grounded in.
morality is objective. I'm a moral non-realist or non-cognitivist.
So you're a moral non-realist. Very trendy these days. But even saying that requires presupposing that moral realism exists as a concept to reject, right? You're defining yourself against something you claim doesn't exist. And even if morality is subjective, doesn't that make it harder, not easier to live in a pluralistic society? If everything is just a matter of opinion, what's to stop someone from saying might makes right? Don't you see? Your attempt to escape the need for a higher moral framework actually leads to utter chaos and relativism.
Well, that you say that like it's a bad thing.
Look, I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm just saying,
That's exactly what the Christian worldview says.
whoa there, hold on a second. Uh, you trying to pull the whataboutism card on me? Just because some Christians say they have all the answers doesn't mean it's necessarily true. You're trying to dodge the real issue here, your worldview, while claiming to be oh so tolerant and open-minded ultimately struggles with the very foundation it's built on. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Either embrace the inherent contradictions of a purely naturalistic worldview, or start asking some harder questions about where those foundational assumptions actually come from. Think about it.
Point out the contradictions to which you refer.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. You're calling me out, making me justify my claims. I like that. So let's break it down. You claim to be a humanist, right? Focus on human values, reason, ethics, all good stuff, at least on the surface. But where do these values come from? You say morality isn't objective, but then you still judge play actions as all good or bad. You advocate for treating others as you want to be treated, which is a classic moral principle. Here's the contradiction. If morality is truly subjective, entirely dependent on individual perspective, then your humanist values are just opinions, no more valid than any other set of opinions. Why should anyone else follow them? Why should they treat you the way you want to be treated if there's no overarching moral framework saying they should? You're essentially arguing for a system based on individual preference, but then demanding that everyone subscribe to your preferred set of preferences. Isn't that a little hypocritical? And on top of that, if human reason is the ultimate measure of truth, then how do you account for the limits of human knowledge? We're constantly revising our understanding of the world. What was considered ethical a few centuries ago is now outdated and harmful. How can we be sure that our current concept of good won't be seen as equally primitive by future generations? There's a nagging sense that your worldview, while trying to be logical and self-sufficient, is ultimately built on shaky ground.
You just said yourself that what was considered ethical at one time no longer is. So that would seem to indicate that there is no objective morality. Otherwise, morality never would have changed throughout history.
Touche. You got me there. My point exactly. You see, you're starting to realize the slippery slope of your own arguments. If morality is entirely dependent on time and place, societal trends, and individual whims, then where does that leave us? Does that mean something objectively terrible, like genocide, could be deemed acceptable under certain circumstances? Because if there aren't any absolute moral principles, who's to say that anything is truly wrong? That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Embracing a purely naturalistic worldview without acknowledging some kind of higher guiding principle ultimately leads to a moral abyss. It's like building a house on sand. It might look structured and fancy on the surface, but at the first sign of a storm, the whole thing crumbles. Don't you see the very fact that you're wrestling with these questions, struggling to define right and wrong, even striving for a better world points to a deeper yearning for something solid, something beyond the fleeting tides of human opinion? Maybe, just maybe, there's more to it all than meets the eye. It's like whoa, time flies. It looks like we've been chatting for almost 15 minutes. This call's just about up, my friend. We could pick this back up another time, though.
You did a
Maybe you
good
could tell me
job
more
with
about.
the presuppositional apologetics. Thank you.
Hang tight. I gotta take off. My Philosopher AI book club is about to start, and I'm behind on the reading. Catch you later.